on, break 'em on. This is America First Radio. Patriots, get your ears on because we're blowing the speakers out.
Lefty G. It is time for the Lefty G Show. The only show to get you right. Get ready to get right with Lefty. Your voice taking you down Freedom Road. Now, here's your host, Lefty G.
Let's hit the fucking road!
Hey, welcome to the first ever webcast here on the Lefty G Show. I do appreciate you guys being with us. This is our very first one, inaugural one, and you're going to ask yourself, who the heck am I and what the hell is the show all about? And I'm glad that the voices in my head asked that question for you. For this, in its basic form, it's an outlet to give some voice to the common Americans through a lens of patriotic conservatism, conservative values. Hence, here our tagline, get right with Lefty. And again, yours truly. My personal socio-political belief structure is pretty simple. I'm neither a conservative by the current definition, nor definitely not a liberal by today's standards, not even close. I have some strong conservative values, sure. For me, I'm fiscally conservative. I guess that's the best way I can approach this. I believe in life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, while at the same time, I'm a sexual libertarian. And what do I mean by that? Well, I could care less whom you decide to lay with. In the end, it's your gain or loss beyond religious or social beliefs or anything like that. As long as it doesn't involve kids or animals, I really don't care. So, with that said, to all you drag queen story hour fags out there, fuck you too. But this is who the show is. I mean, we're going to come at things with a very conservative look at things. We're going to with more of a constitutional base. But back to the point of the show. I don't really think I need to beleaguer the point that large corporate media outlets have traditionally been left-leaning, liberal-based, with the likes of MSNBC, CNN, the alphabet outlets like ABC, NBC, CBS, and the like. But they give no credence to what I'd like to call American values or the Constitution. Also, I can't forget to mention really the cesspool known as PBC, or Public Broadcasting Channel. Another liberal media, really just, it's an unflushed turd basket of a toilet. That is more of a communist mouthpiece than anything else. Even to a certain extent, the more right-wing media outlets such as Fox are constitutionally out of touch in some ways, some standards, and really have their own biases to a certain degree. Here at the Lefty G Show, we will and always will be different. And my plan here is, if you stick with us and the show takes off, I mean, heck, for all I know, I might fall flat on my face on this one, but I hope not. I think I've got a lot of good things to say, and I think I share kind of a feet on the street mentality about things. But again, here at the Lefty G Show, it always will be different, and really it's never going to waver from its constitutional conservative base. And again, I'd like to cater to everyday hardworking Americans out there that are just trying to hold themselves together by their bootstraps and make something of themselves in this country. So that really leads me to my point here. Why did I decide to do this? With so many jagoffs out there behind Best Buy microphones, pontificating ad nauseum, why the hell am I doing this? Well, I guess for me, I'm 50, and it's startling to me that I've lived through some already in 50 years. I've lived through some historic times in my lifetime so far. I was born in 1974, and really since 1974, if I look back at my life and what caused me to sit here in front of a Best Buy microphone and make a stab at something that I believe is a little bit more pure than the populist academics out there. Since 1974, what have I seen? I saw the end of the Vietnam War. I saw the popularization of the personal computer. I saw the creation of the internet, the attempted assassination of Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump now twice. Attempted assassination of those two. I saw the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. I saw the mainstream of what I like to say is gross over perversion. I've seen the production of mass welfare for unproductive citizens, the destruction of the American judicial system by corrupt lawyers. I've seen the meltdown of American borders. I've witnessed the self-genocide of American European majority through, mass abortion and mass tolerance over perverse sexuality. I've seen the gamblers and the con men really take over our corporations. I've seen the elimination of grades in many schools or the indoctrination of racial quota systems. I've seen the impeachment or attempted impeachment of 2 sitting presidents. Then there were the 9/11 attacks. I've seen the BLM riots. And now history is repeating itself with anti-Jewish rhetoric and protests. So this is my manifesto of reasons why I wanted to be a voice for the common Joe and Jane public in America. I suppose I forgot to mention that presently we're tap dancing on a landmine in World War III with conflict still raging in the Ukraine and ongoing in Israel. We're on the verge of something dramatic here in the United States. And according to all polls, right now, Donald Trump is ahead of the Communist Party USA, a.k.a. Kamala Harris. And her stolen valor VP candidate, Waltz. And those of you, really, I like to say this as well as I can, and those of you that are skilled enough, I should say, to understand the reality, can relate to my message and this show for what it's worth. And we welcome you. To the delusional, still out there wearing pussy hats and thinking there's, more genders than there are pronouns in your media profiles, while promoting, weird organizations like Gays for Hamas. that one's always gets me. Then I believe the show can help wake you up. It's a lot I've seen in my lifetime. I've always been cognizant of time and the passage of time and how precious time really is. This isn't a woe is me show. I don't want to get that, I kind of listening back to what I just said, and I kind of feel that, I'm possibly, giving you that presumption that it's a woe is me type of show. But it's simply a show for all of us common folk. And a one man's view, meaning me being the man, view of the world through the lens of patriotic America. We're in a struggle like never before. The fact is we're in a struggle like never before. And my point of view is that we're in a newer and louder variant of the Cold War. Freedom versus communism 2.0. Here we go again. And I think, when I look at the present state of how things are shaping up, multiple assassination attempts and, we're gearing up for probably the most volatile presidential election that we've ever had. I think one thing to recognize here is who the opposition is. I think VP Harris is a naked communist. She always has been. And Waltz is clearly a communist plant in my point of view. And I think most people are definitely aware of this. Now, whatever side of the aisle you're on, whether you're left or right, you're aware of it to the extent of you're for it or against it. And I want to talk on time here for a second in another context for a moment. Again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. I'm 50 years old. I was born in 1974, 50, born in 74. And I'm trying to show you the plastic history, or the plastic reality, I should say, of history and time in all of our lives. So I want to kind of go backwards here so everybody understands why I'm doing this, why I'm doing something I don't really need to be doing, I suppose, but I'm passionate about, what caused me to be here. So if I go back to just my simple life, and many of you people are a heck of a lot more intelligent than I am, many of you people out there are a hell of a lot more prolific than I am, and, better in so many ways than just some, goofy Irish guy from Chicago talking into a mid-range microphone. But if I can take you back from my own sentiments here, back to 1974, let's look at it this way through this lens. If there was a 50-year-old person in 1974, they would have been born in 1924, which means that person born at the time I was born would have been around when Calvin Coolidge was president. In 1924, we were between 2 world wars. And since then, a very long time in history has passed, obviously. But I can honestly say that we had flourished in America in that time between 1924 and 1974 more than we have since 1974 to 1924. Dismiss the historical fact of that at your own loss. My age, awareness, and experience will be the foundation of my talking points moving forward here on the show. And again, I have an idea that it might do well, and then again, I'm not so egotistical to think that it can't fall flat on its face. But I want to try to bring something to you guys that maybe you look at from the lens of somebody that isn't famous, somebody that doesn't have all the credentials of all the talking heads that are out there. I'm a guy just like many of you that are listening to this right now. I get up every day, I work, I pay my taxes, I struggle with the current inflation. I look at how small businesses are suffering. I look at how general Joe and Jane public are suffering. But I think one of the things that makes me realize that we're at the cusp of really making some sensible changes in here is little grassroots talking shows like this. I'm not a Joe Rogan. I'm not somebody that is going to have famous people on. And I'll say this right now, if the show takes off and it does well, you'll never see a famous person on here. I'm here to talk to everyone just like we're sitting at a bar. As a matter of fact, a lot of the reality of what this show was born in a bar. Just like the beloved United States Marine Corps. We were born in a bar. And, this show was just that. It was a lot of talking points and kind of push forward. And I thought, what the hell? I'll throw my hat in the ring and give it a try. But again, when I step back and I look at, what fuels me to do this, to hopefully make a difference, not only for myself, but for other people, is I got to look at the reality of how things are, and not hide behind, Sunday football and not hide behind, different things like that. I don't want to get glazed over. The fact is we have a generation currently right now that's raised on drugs and propaganda who don't even know their own time in history. And that's why I try to go back and give you a look at where I came from in the last 50 years. They don't even know their own place in history, this generation that we're sitting with right now. They have no way of understanding the danger that they're in. And it's my prelude and introduction to the Lefty G show is why I'm here doing this right now. I want this show to help save the United States of America from what I'm going to call right now the liberal assault on our borders, language, and culture. Imagine for a moment Kamala Harris is president. Just take a second and imagine that the reality of what that is. President of the United States, Kamala Harris. Imagine what that's going to look like, as it relates to what I just said, America's border, culture, and language. This is the purest definition of being fucked that I could ever think of or ever would have heard of, is this lady as our president. And, in preparing for this show, I wanted to make sure that I really understood my own thoughts, because sometimes we can get away from our own selves based on all the information that we're getting bombarded on. And I wanted to kind of draw out and make, put into the light some of the things that she stands for, some of the things that she brings to the table via, past associated presidents like Obama and a little bit like Clinton, although I think he gets a bad rap because of a cigar and an intern, but that's a whole nother show that I'm not going to get into. But right now we're facing down Kamala Harris. What does she look like? What is this person going to be as president of the United States? And this is literally what this broad stands for. I really think the number one thing that she stands for, and the number one danger that I would put into place for Kamala and the liberal war party that they present to us right now is World War III. Look what's happening right now in the Middle East. Look at the news today that we're moving warships. We're moving, we have one of the largest fleet command, naval and marine command in the Middle East currently right now. Generally, we try to keep around 30 to 35,000 troops over there. We're up to 50 now. Did anyone ever realize that? This is where we're at. The number one danger Kamala and the liberal war party presents to us is World War III. And for some reason, the Democrats, and I don't understand this, they've become the party of war. What happened to all those old hippies sitting around smoking dope and listening to the, fucking Grateful Dead, that's a whole nother story I'll get into. What a terrible band those guys were. It sounded like, when I saw them live once, I'm going to segue here, my left-handed Albuquerque. I saw the Grateful Dead live once, and literally it sounded like 7 old men tuning their guitars for 3 hours. I totally understand where everybody gets stoned at a Grateful Dead concert. I really do now. But this is my point. This is what else baffles me. What happened to the real Democrat, like the Democrats of the John F. Kennedy and those people, the counterculture people that, they were a little weird, they dropped a lot of acid and they slept in tents and they jammed out to a great, Woodstock rally in the rain, but in 1969. But the fact is that I'd like those people back, because you know what? Hippies were harmless, unless, you were a box of donuts after a good joint or something like that. But this new breed of liberal Democrats are dangerous people. And the Democrats have become the party of war. And I'm going to say this right now. Look at the conflict. We're continually giving and openly giving arms and everything to the Ukrainians. And I'll be honest with you, war with Russia could very possibly do a lot of damage, if not end life as we know it. And this is the number one reason that I look at this lady coming in, potentially coming in, that it just can't happen. It just can't happen. What else does she stand for? I mean, you can run down the list. Let's take affirmative action, what I like to call Fairness for the Dummy Act. How about reparation payments for non-slaves by non-slave holders? I mean, look, I grew up in Chicago, and I don't know if anyone's ever been around the city or the state before, but you know what? It's a melting pot. It's a lot of different people. So I never quite understood that, but that she wants people that never owned slaves to pay money to people that were never slaves. I think I look at the hate crimes that are against any American that doesn't fall into the category of a minority. In other words, hate crimes against straight white males. I look at the racial profiling laws aimed at straight white police. I think that's something that she has openly talked about, and her philosophy of the liberal background has absolutely been for. What about racial profiling laws, that are aimed at those straight white police? How would you like to be a cop today? Absolutely not. She's also for a United Nation or a world tax. And boy, I'm going to talk about taxes here on another show, God willing. And I think you're going to understand where I come from with that. But, she wants free prescription drugs for illegal aliens. And this is the other thing I think about with all these illegals pouring over the border. What is it that we don't understand about the word illegal? Anyway, that's all that. Again, we're going to get to that. But to continue on as far as what she stands for here, she wants to she wants to discredit the Boy Scouts to enable fairness to really what I like to call pedophiles. She wants to outlaw homeschooling. She wants to literally be the arrest or the rewrite of the authentic Bible as a hate book. She wants mandatory applications of Ritalin or other type of drugs like that to any child with a personality. She wants to completely eliminate the Mexican border to the American border, and she's this some fucking border czar. Again, this goes back to recognizing borders, culture, language in a country, and this lady wants to eliminate the Mexican border. One of the biggest travesties is that this partial birth abortion or complete infanticide and the sale of baby body parts. This is what her and her party is for as well. She wants increased approval and license for Hollywood violence and pornography. And don't forget the age-old one here too: socialized medicine and the nationalized healthcare system. That's a train wreck. She wants no limits on lawsuits. This is a lady that was a fairly defunct, weird prosecutor back in California, and she wants no limits on lawsuits. How about the mandatory suicide for sick seniors or people not producing for society? That is, that's kind of scary. How'd you like to have a loved one that's been in a coma for a long time? And, well, you know what? Since we've already brought in socialized medicine, your Uncle Larry that's been in a coma for 11 years, he's not really producing anymore, so we're just going to pull the plug and you have no say in it. How about what she wants to do to our, beloved freedom of speech? What I'm sitting here behind this Best Buy microphone doing right now. She wants to bring in what they're calling the Fairness and Talk Radio Act. And what is that going to do to so many people out there that feel that they, by right of this country, by our First Amendment, should have a voice? Because it's going to be them that's going to be ostracizing anybody that's got a different, their whole idea of tolerance. Which, before I get to the last two things here, do you ever notice with tolerance, anytime you tolerate something, that thing usually sucks. I've never gone on a vacation. I've never gone on a vacation and been out on a cruise for 5 days and said, hey, you know what? That I tolerated the cruise the entire time. I've never sat around and had a steak and a beer and said, I tolerated every bite and every drink of that beer. Their whole message of tolerance, not only is it kind of defunct because they don't tolerate anybody but themselves, but, anytime you have to tolerate something, that thing usually sucks. And so far, tolerance has sucked. I think, they also want to bring apart the end of the Electoral College. This is to ensure that I like to call them the Democrats, or i.e. the dummy craps, will never again be threatened. And of course, they want the complete seizure of all guns, our Second Amendment, which protects our First Amendment, which also, and furthermore, is the great equalizer to so many of those wonderful American women out there that, we talk about, we want to protect. Unless, of course, it's their sports. These whack job liberals, they want to bring in, chicks with dicks into, everything like boxing matches in the Olympics, or these wrestling matches, or swimming. And somehow we got to look at that and say, no problem, these are women. But I think the Second Amendment, if I can just kind of stop here for a second, is most important for our women in this country. It's the great equalizer. I think if you're a woman out there, if you're a red-blooded American woman out there, and you don't have yourself your FOID card, your concealed carry, and you're not packing every time you go to the grocery store to buy a jug of fucking milk, you're doing a disservice to yourself. And again, that's the last thing. They want seizure of all guns, and they want the complete abolition of the existing Constitution to that. And I think that's something that's pretty scary. And that's kind of why I decided to do this. And here we are. We're here at the cusp of the greatest disaster in American history. First, they did a bait and switch when they saw that Biden was literally unable to function. We already knew he was incompetent we knew that for a while, and even several years ago, the demented fuck. But the liberals, they tried to hide him until he was destroyed by Trump in their debate. And now they pushed out, Kamala Camel-Toe Harris here in his place, who is the most incompetent and unpopular figure in American political history. Let's not forget, when she was running for president, that she literally had less than 2% of the delegates and was out by the second round. This is someone that is immensely unpopular. But hey, you know what? Here we are. And yet here I am. This is what I feel really passionate about. And I think for me, maybe this is in part a little bit of therapy, because I'm tired of this occupying so much of my brain. And look, I'm not delusional here. I'm not a liberal. I'm not delusional. I'm not saying that I myself or this little show can do anything about this. But what I'm saying to you is that I see what's going on, and it's my obligation to present to you so that you can make an intelligent decision on behalf of America and yourselves. I mean, the message you'll all get here is not aligned with big media outlets. Simply put, this is a feet on the street type show. And again, I'm coming at it from obviously a conservative leaning stance, fiscally conservative. A lot of my core beliefs are conservative, but again, I'm a sexual libertarian. I just don't care as long as it doesn't involve, and that's really the only departure. That's why I keep bringing that up. It's the only departure that I really have in my core beliefs. I really don't care as long as it's not kids or animals. I really could give a shit. But back to the situation here, why we're all here. Currently, I'm going to go back to this again. Trump is beating her in every poll. The commies are getting more and more desperate than ever. Hence why I believe that there's something behind them after having 2 assassination attempts. And I believe that what they're going to do at the time of the election, when that rolls around for people to start putting in their ballots, I really believe what they're going to do. I think they're going to flood the polling places the night of the election and do what they did last time. And that they're going to try to steal the election. And I really believe the first election was stolen. And we can get into that on another show. This is my introduction here, but I'm going to ramble on that at another point. But I really believe that they're going to try to steal it again. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we're a little more sophisticated in understanding who the hell is out there. But I can say right now that I really hope I'm wrong. But hey, you know what? If history repeats itself, and at least I've paid attention. But there is something that you have to understand about these communists, that they have a few mottos that I've never really understood myself. I understand, but I've never really understood why everyone else hasn't really paid more attention to what the communists are saying. Before I get into that, you know what? Here's the thing, Meg. I do like the Grateful Dead to a certain extent, but man, it's still 7 old men tuning their guitars for one of our chat listeners is on. I love that. 7 old men tuning their guitars, but hey, you know what? They're famous and I'm not. So I guess I'm a catty little bitch when I'm jealous. But going back to that, I mean, look at all the communist mottos. Hasta victoria siempre. Now that's a Fidel Castro motto. To the victory always, or by any means necessary, is what he really meant. And these liberals today, they've adopted this, and they don't care about cheating or lying, because it's what they fucking do. You know, and here's the thing. Again, I'm not delusional, but maybe, just maybe, I can be a little pebble to throw against this wall of insanity right now. And maybe this little show can help warn America. Maybe be a loud voice to help bring back the constitutional values we desperately need back. And if you're tired of being attacked at schools for celebrating the achievements of America, or, you know, fear of being trampled on whenever you speak in favor of morality, if you're a Boy Scout, you know, you become a pariah while, you know, the fucking perverts have become the victims. Well, then you've come to the right place, and I hope that you'll stick around and give us a real chance to be something to you guys, because I believe in what I'm doing. I'm a little nervous, but I think that I think somebody's got to do it, and I think my approach is a little bit different, and I hope you guys will all see that. You know, we need to be vigilant about the leftist propaganda against America. This show will speak on a very electrified, muscular style, masculinity style that's really no longer fashionable with the soy boy crowd. But I don't care. I really don't care anymore. I'm tired of the tolerance and pandering to them. America is losing its identity, becoming a victim of political correctness with you know, really unmonitored illegal immigration into this country, and ungodly amounts of socialist ideals that are killing us from within. And make no mistake, it's all by design. It is absolutely all by design. And again, you know, they want a voting base. And, you know, I think this show will obviously join other voices in what could be considered an underground resistance in America today. You know, we need to wake up. We need to wake up the fat, dumb, and happy in this country and understand that we're in trouble, and shed light on the fact that 50% of the Americans don't work. They live off the labor of folks like you and I. And we true Americans are providing the taxes for the rats, the pieces of shit, for the bums. We're providing the food for the garbage flooding over the borders, bought by the Biden and Harris, you know, group to restrict America, to destroy any semblance of what our nation used to be or what it should be. These are the constitutional values I want to get back to for everybody that is out there every day, busting their ass, common folk doing whatever they need to do. And don't tell me these illegals. Before, you know, I get all this, you know, weird stuff that you always hear about. You know, somebody says something about an illegal person here, illegal person there. You become some kind of a terrible person. Don't tell me these illegal pukes come here to work. You know, these filthy millions are not coming here to work. And I'm going to say that again. They're not coming here to work. They're here to sap off the system and be a voting block for the Democrat machine. These are not the immigrants of your great-grandfather or great-grandmother. They are absolutely not at all. And, you know, here's the thing. Kamala Harris represents the end times. Fact. You know, she's incompetent. She was never qualified. She, you know, she's affiliated with many communist organizations that we'll talk about as time goes on, really since she began. And the pukes in the mainstream media are too stupid, or I should say under the control of the Dems, to not even understand the danger that she brings to the table. And that's why I wanted to introduce the show, and that's why I hope that you guys will like and subscribe and hit the bell button and be here with me, 5 nights a week or as often as I can to try to present everything from a feet on the street, common person type of point of view. Because, you know, I believe for the first time in my life, I'm not going to write the situations off anymore. You know, this isn't Bill Clinton getting a blowjob in the Oval Office. This is real serious, and I think our nation is in real trouble. You know, our borders were destroyed by Joe Biden and his cohort, you know, Camel Toe Harris. Our language has been turned into a Tower of Babel. You know, let's look at it this way. You know, how can you have a nation that permits voting in 16 to 20 languages? This effectively, I mean, think about that. You have voting in 16 to 20 languages. This effectively makes the ballot meaningless. And this is precisely what the commie libs want. And what is our American culture today? America was founded on a firm belief and a firm culture. The U.S. Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and the Bible. Like it or not, these are the fundamental stances and culture of the United States of America. And what are the fundaments of our culture today? drugs, porn, and chicks with dicks, reading children's books. This is where we're at. Fact of the matter. And here's the thing too. Let me address something here real quick. Is Donald Trump the savior of Western mankind? Completely, I would say no. But he sure ain't Camel Toe Harris, and he sure ain't Mr. Stolen Valor. And for 4 years under Trump, under his first presidency, we had global peace. The man walked across the parallel in North Korea, the first person ever to do that without a gun, the first American, the first person ever. He did that. We had global peace for the first time. In my lifetime, as I said, I never had a year where we were at peace with anybody or anything, whether it was all-out war, the end of the Vietnam War, or whether it was, something crazy as far as, terrorist attacks here, But all of a sudden, this real estate magnate, this businessman from New York steps in, and we have global peace. Interesting. We had energy independence under Trump, and we had the greatest economy in the history of this country. Sounds like a great option to me, but I think that he flies in the face of quite possibly the State Department. He can't be bought out. Lobbyists are meaningless to him. And I think that's the real threat. I think that for the first time, we have somebody in front of us that is actually for us. He's proven that. Look at all the stuff the guy's been through, and we're gonna talk on that too, as time goes on. But the fact of the matter is that's where we're at right now, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I hope that any of the common folks out there like myself that are watching this, that are taking part in the Lefty G experience. I hope that you guys are just speaking my language, because I hope I'm speaking yours. I'm not interested in what the bigs, as I like to call them, have to say. And we got a line on the chat here that says, how would you recommend we keep our elections safe? Right now, kind of improvising here, kind of going right off my feet. What I would say is, to keep them safe, Biddy, what I would do is, I would absolutely go back to paper ballots. I would bring back the silver foxes. I would hand count all of those ballots. I would go back to that way. I would heavily restrict mail-in voting to the United States military. I think there are definitely things that we can do, but I think there's a reason why in the last, say, really since George Bush was president after Ronald Reagan, why we started to slowly boil the frog and get away from traditional voting pieces here in the United States. Because look at it this way, we didn't have the issues we have today when we had a bunch of senior citizens and paper ballots being counted. When, I just think that, for something, we're missing the boat on that. We really, really are. So, and I love what I'm reading here on the chats too. I mean, yeah. That you're absolutely right. The U.S. has one flag and one language and one currency. And this is what we get back to when we talk about borders, culture, language. Think about it. A country without a border is no country at all. A country without a language, you get 16 to 20 fucking languages on a voting piece, and then next thing you know, we got the Tower of Babel. And a culture, well, how do you talk about, why Thanksgiving is so important? How do you talk about, why baseball is the nation's pastime? How do you think we have those things in the United States if we can slowly erase our culture? And that's of course what the globalists want to do. And I say that the liberals right now are the asshole of the globalist monster. That's something that we can talk about later. But that's pretty much it. That's the introductory pilot show here on the Lefty G Show. And I really want to say thank you to anybody that's going to be that watched us live or going to be checking the show out later on, and anyone that is maybe waking up, or hopefully we're helping out. But before I go, I want to say one last thing, because as I was getting ready to go live, I was kind of listening to what's happening right now with Janet Jackson, and she's getting a lot of backlash for calling Kamala Harris not black, because she's not black. She's of Hindu Indian descent. She's not African American. Here's the thing. If we can say that she's African American, Elon Musk is closer to being an African American, being that he's from South Africa. He's closer to being, an African American than Kamala Harris is. So, and that's another thing too. I want to touch on that. Can we get rid of the hyphenated America for a second? I don't want to be Irish American. This guy shouldn't be African American. This person should be Mexican American. How about we're all Americans or we're not? Let's stop blurring the lines here, which is, again, that's exactly what the liberals want. That's why words matter. I think phrases and words matter, and they convolute them to nauseum. But I think that's where we're at in this world. I think we have a situation where we got to recognize that. But again, I was getting ready to go on the show here, go live for our very first one, and I couldn't believe my ears listening to how they're nailing Janet Jackson for speaking the fucking truth. I got to tell you, it blows my mind. But I'm going to say this openly, and this goes out to Taylor Swift, and this goes out to anyone else who wants to, get on their fucking soapbox. Let me say right now, first, fuck you. The other thing is, when actors or musicians are telling people to vote or who to vote for, I think it's an abuse of power. End of story. And if you think about it, this is nothing new. This goes back to the bands of Woodstock and the counterculture, what they were trying to do, or even Jane Fonda, in North Vietnam, Hanoi Jane, whatever they used to call her. This is nothing new. But the rhetoric of the famous back then are not the same as now. These peaceniks, these hippies, these people that were Woodstock, all the Grateful Dead, what they were talking, what they were saying was, we have a problem with what's going on, and we want peace. Peace, love, all that. That's what they stood for. The Black Lives Matter movement and a lot of these, pink hairs on colleges and what they're doing right now as far as these anti-Israel protests, none of that looks like peace and love to me. But again, to go back to that, I really think it's an abuse of power when we have these actors and these musicians that are telling people who to vote for. It's an absolute abuse of power. And that's why if this show continues on and God willing, it actually goes somewhere, you'll never see a famous person on this show. I'm going to have the garbage man. I'm going to have, people that I know and people that I love and even people that I don't like, common folk on this show. And we're going to discuss stuff moving forward. And I'll never have a famous person on here because quite frankly, they're not in touch with anything. But, it's nothing new. But again, the rhetoric from the famous back then are not the same as now. The famous today have a much larger reach in terms of social media, in terms of what they're able to access as far as the minds of so many people that are relatively ignorant. I think it's an abuse of power, and I think that's something that would be like a sub-piece to what the show is. But at any rate, this is who the Lefty G show is, and I really hope you join me to help in part save the United States. Please like and subscribe and continue on being part of the Lefty G experience. And I want to thank you all very much for being with me. All right, good night. See you tomorrow.